Hey, welcome back everybody to day 2 of bootcamp. We are going to get started today following up with the box model. We already touched on it a little bit in the first lecture today. And we are going to dig in even further here, figuring out what the box model is, how we can use it to our advantage, how we can move blocks around our page, and how to use inline block, okay? Because after this lecture today, we're going to group up, and for about an hour, we're going to join in teams and pick out flags to create using the HTML and CSS properties that we can make for ourselves here, okay? And then we're going to present our flags afterward. It'll be a fun time, and then we'll wrap up the day, okay? Tomorrow's reading is going to be the flex advantage. You need to read flex. It's going to be a different way than what we're going to teach you today. So today's lesson of inline block, we're going to teach you this in order for you to forget it tomorrow and do things a whole new different way. All right. It's just like when I was showing you styling and I showed you how to do styling in HTML. Then I said, okay, don't do that. Do this another way through CSS. It's because we want to show you why it's better. Okay, so we're showing you this lesson today on inline block. We really want you to use the flex method. There's more than one option, of course, but flex method is the #1 recommended method, and we'll get into why in just a little bit. In fact, we'll get into that tomorrow. Okay, so let us continue. I think it's that time of the day where I humiliate myself telling a couple dad jokes here. Okay, so first one is what has 4 wheels and flies? This one, everyone should know this one. It's like a one you say in 3rd grade. A garbage truck. All right. Why do pirates take so long to learn the alphabet? Because they spend years at sea. All right, I got 2 more. I like my dentist so much, I gave him a little plaque. Huh? Nope. Why do restaurants serve snail? Why do... Okay, hold on, I messed this one up. I'll take a deep breath. Why do they serve snail at fancy restaurants? Because their customers don't like fast food. All right, enough of that. Let's get to work. So let's do a small quiz and get some interaction here with you guys. I know this is on the platform. You guys can take this on your own, but let's just see as a group how we're doing together. Okay, I want you guys to respond in the chat. I want you to speak out loud, turn your mics off. We're gonna do this test here. See how well we're learning everything. All right. The following HTML code example may be needed for the questions. Of course it is. Here it is. Based on the code above, which selector would you select the first div ID title? If I wanted to grab it by the div ID title, this one here, how would I grab it?
The third
Pound
one.
title.
Pound title. Okay, let's get some more feedback here so we get a consensus. A little more, please.
I agree, the third one.
3rd one. Okay, let's just say that one. Okay. Based on the code above, which selector would you select the second div class main? How would we select class main?
The one with the dot.
Dot main.
Dot main.
Yeah, the second one.
Okay, okay. Like what I'm hearing, going with it. Based on the code above, which selector would select the H1 tag?
The single dot H1, the first one.
Option 1.
Option 1.
Nice. Very well. Based on the code above, which selector would select all the paragraph p tags?
Option 1.
Option 1.
You guys are too good. All right. And based on the code above, which selector would select the anchor, the A tag?
All of the above.
All of the above? Are we sure?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see the results. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nicely done. You guys are getting pretty advanced into this. Okay, so let's go over some things we may have skipped that we were meant to explain on the first lecture. Okay, let's how about we take this quiz here since we're so good. Which selector will select all the elements on the page?
First option.
Number one.
Okay, are we sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which selector has the strongest selector specificity?
Hashtag brand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which selector has the strongest selector specificity?
The last one.
Option 4.
Yeah. Option
Yeah.
4.
Yeah. Option 4.
Okay. Ooh, what's going on there? Okay, here we go. Which selector will only select paragraph p tags inside the div class box? We didn't go over this. Let's see how well you guys are now.
The last one.
Yeah. The div dot box p.
Okay. And last question, which selector will select all elements directly inside the div class main?
The
Last.
second option.
Actually,
I'm
yeah.
thinking the second option
Second
too.
options, I think. Yeah.
Second option, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We get 2. Are we sure?
Yeah.
Pinky promise.
Yeah. I think so.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Nicely done, guys.
Ooh.
I'm just going to introduce this game to you guys. I don't really want to play it myself, but here's a game where you can select the pickle on the fancy plate. So it's this game, let's see here, that you can get some practice on if you feel a little shaky, unsure. So looks fun already, right? But I won't dive deep into this. I think I just want to introduce it to you guys so you guys can play on your own time. Okay, if you have some free time after completing your assignments, that is the priority. But here's some way to get a little bit better. You'll get faster and well, you guys are already great at this. Okay, so let's just cover over some ground about the box properties. There are some ways to use CSS selectors. And as you already seen in my first lecture, I can choose by red, naming the color, conventional colors. There was also some fancy colors that we were able to choose as soon as we gave that style property. But we can also give colors by the red, green, blue property. So all the pixels that you see on your screen, there's little measurements of how much red, how much green, and how much blue. That combination will give the color. And so if you give that color combination as you see here, that will also be a color selector as well. There's also hexadecimal color selectors that you can use. And here are the matchups for this as well. I have a handy tool that I got from the Chrome extension. And I just Googled it and I found this one. It is a color picker. So let's say you're copying a example of a page that you want to build from, and you don't know exactly what the color is. You can use this extension here, and it will save the color that you're trying to grab. So let's say I try to grab white, and it will tell me, oh, it found that I clicked the area around here, this gray area, and it'll tell me exactly how to get that color. Okay. And it'll copy it for me, and I can paste it into my CSS. So there's a color picker that you can grab. That way you can get the exact color that you're going to replicate on your test or on your assignments. Okay, so color picker is something you can get from the Google extensions. Just Google it. It's really easy to find. I can link it to you after class if you are having a hard time finding it. We already went over color versus background color. I used that in our example today. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here. This is something I'd like to cover right now. This is the text align property. So let me go ahead and pull up a text editor so we can go ahead and get into this. This is for later on. So I'm going to just enter here. You'll see it. I'm going to create a div here. Okay. Actually, I'm going to create an H1 tag. And I'm going to say hello there. And I'm going to target this tag and say H1 text align center. And as you can see, it's already giving us what this will be on the platform, but let's see it into practice. So I'm going to open it with the live server. Okay, I have all this other tags. I need to comment this out. So I don't want to over prepared here. Okay. And will you refresh? No. Okay. I'll fix that later. What I really want to show here is that this property, if I selected it correctly, I believe I did, should align to the center of the page. I'm going to copy this again. Sometimes that live server will let you down. Let me comment this all out here. Comment. Sometimes if you put a comment within a comment, as you see here, the text editor will be confused as to what it really needs to do. So now that I have this here, will you disappear on me? Okay, great. All right, so now that I have this H1 here, let's see here on the page what is going on.
Did you link your style sheet
Yeah, I was
yet?
gonna say I didn't see
Oh,
that.
classic mistake. I was testing you guys and you guys found it. Just kidding. That was my mistake. And now it's in the center. So this is really handy, right? Because now we can center a lot of items. That sometimes is the most difficult thing. How do we center something? And this is a super handy tool, text align center. You can align it to the left and right. We can imagine what that would be like. Let's just do one here. And if we refresh here, let's go back to the live server. Okay. And what is the last property here that we need to see? You guys get the picture. It's already on the left when we begin with, so you'll just see it where it already should be without editing it. There's a couple other text decorations that we can do here. We can do text decoration underline, line through, and text decoration none. And by the way, let's do something here. Let's create an A tag. I'm gonna delete this here. I'm gonna do an A tag. That's a capital letter A tag. That's not. Okay, if you're not gonna do it for me, I'll do it myself. A href equals, I'm just going to put a hashtag as a placeholder, link tag. And now if I grab the A tag, I can say text decoration none. Oh, well, I want to show you what it is before. We already know what an A tag looks like, right? Looks like this. It has a blue color with the underline. It already comes with a text decoration here. So if I uncomment this, put this rule back into effect, as you can see on the left-hand side here, there's no more underline. So if you want to make a link look like a regular piece of text, all you need to do is make the color now black. And now this looks no different than a P tag. So you can still click it. It'll be a link to another page. I can put another web page here, maybe Google's website or Wikipedia or something. I can put it here and I can link here just the same, and it looks like a regular piece of text. You can also pretty much make anything a link on your page. We'll show you how to do that more when we get to the JavaScript portion. But for now, we know we can make text decoration none, and that would allow us to edit our A tags. Okay. So let's go back to the platform. Text declaration underline would put the underline line through, and none is helpful to use with A tags. Okay. Font styles are pretty handy too whenever you want to make something italic or normal. When we want to make something bold, we already seen it on the platform. We can create a P tag and something here. And if we wrap it within a strong tag, it'll have a bold font now. Okay. And speaking of fonts, there's lots of different ways we can edit a font. So if I go to the wildcard selector where I select everything here, I want to make everything here cursive. Maybe that's the theme of my page, some kind of like medieval page. Okay, so now you can affect the type of fonts that you can add to your page. You can also go to Google Fonts, and it's going to have a lot of fonts that you can use. You can just scroll through this endlessly. Ooh, that's not what I need. You can scroll through these fonts and find out what font suits you best. Okay, for whatever page that you've been hired to design. And you can link this here. For example, let's say, which one do I want to use? Comic Sans. This one here. Why not this one? Okay. It'll give you instructions on how to link these fonts. Instructions should be here on the right. If I copy this here and I go to my text editor, remove this rule. By the way, you can format your CSS document the same you do any other document here. And if you add one more rule, it'll work. Let me just show you here that it's not going to be completely working. Okay. Well, sometimes sometimes CSS and HTML will recognize it. Sometimes you have to import a link into the head of your HTML. Okay. And that would be here. You grab this, paste this into your head. And so that's the way you can grab a Google font and add some style to your page that way. And are we all clear on this? Can we get some feedback? And then, so I know I'm not going too fast here. Thank you. And I saw some of you working on this assignment already, so well done. If you've made it this far, okay. And in a bit, we're going to go over what this span element does exactly, and the difference between using a span and a div. Okay, I have that there available for us. So let me go ahead and get to that in just a moment here. But before I do, I wanted to just go over all these properties. Sizes, we already went over the difference between using size of pixels versus percentage. Percentage is going to be the percent of the given width of the container. Okay, so let me demonstrate this. So here, I'm going to create a div. And I'm going to name this div container div. I'm going to grab it by the container here. And I'm going to say background color light blue. And I'm going to give the width 500 pixels and a height of 500 pixels. Okay, let's just take a look at what we've got. Ooh, that's a little too big, to be honest. About 300 by 300. No, I think 200. Great, this is good. Okay, so now I'm going to put another div inside of this one. I'm going to say this div is going to be called inner box. Okay. And I want inner box to be half the size of the blue container div. Okay, so I'm going to say height. I'm going to use percentage here to show you guys how percentage works. Height 50% and width 50%. And background color red. So now you see here, this is going to be half the width and half the size because I'm using 50%. Now, if I increase the percentage a little bit, you'll see here, it'll be 80% of this box size. It's going to be 80% of its container. And that goes for every other percentage that you use for any other div. If, for example, this red container, if its parent was the whole body, if we take away this wrapper here, for example, let's see what happens. Still by percentage. Oh, but it disappeared. Did I do something here? Inner box, it should be within the body. Disappeared on me.
Because I think it's within the div.
Yeah, but I commented it out, so it should be just within the body. But I think here what I wanted to show here is still pretty understandable, right? So anytime you give a percentage to something, and you're saying I want this to be that size, you're assuming it's going to be the percentage size of the container that it's in. Okay. So let's move on to the next concept here. Font size, I think that's pretty easy to understand. But there's different ways to affect the font. There's pixels, there's EM, there's percentage as well. Okay, it's kind of a debate. Last I looked into what EM stands for exactly, but it's just another way to give a size property. I think we should skip over these a little bit. We touched on border already. But here's another one I want to talk about: border radius. Border radius is a property that will allow for smooth edges. Div boxes are going to be naturally cornered. And if I say, for example, let's say 50 pixels, depending on the size of the box, the size of the pixels of the border radius is going to round out the edge. So a universal way to make it a circle is by making it 50%. If the height and width are the same size and you give a border radius of 50%, you'll make a circle. Okay. And that's pretty handy, right? So let's move on to the next. We already went over the box model. We inspected the page. We looked at this content already. I think we have a pretty good understanding of this. So I won't go too deep into this, other than I'll say this here. If we wanted to affect the, by the way, what is the difference between margin and padding? Do you guys remember?
Margin's like the outer thing.
And padding was the middle or the center.
Yeah. Okay, so let's affect the padding. And we want to say padding top 40 pixels. Okay, so that will make this a bit ovally here. And we can do that for the top, bottom, left, and right. But another way to affect the top, left, bottom, right is by this method here. If I, for example, touch this second 0 and I make it 40 pixels, you'll see now this width is affected. And that is because it operates in this order: top, right, bottom, left. So when you see this here, when you see 0, 0, 0, 0, you're seeing the top. Oh, what was the order? I already forgot it. Top, right, bottom, left. So this 0, first one is top, 40 is right, 0 is bottom, and this one is left. So let's change this to 10, and let's change this to 30, and let's see what kind of shape we get now. It's still 0%, 50. Well, let's see. I think I should put pixels there. There we go. See, now it's a bit ovally and it's stretched out from top to bottom. Okay, CSS can be so deep. I've seen some people do like 3D models, spinning models of some really artistic stuff. So we're just barely scratching the surface of what CSS can do here. You know, you only really need to touch the surface to build a fancy looking web page. Okay, and now we are going to move into the heart of our lesson, block and inline block. Okay, so before I do that, let me go ahead and get a status check while I uncomment this stuff that I commented previously. Cool. Okay. All right, I've got the rules here. And in case you want to see these rules in writing on a website, I will go ahead and link this to you. I've got this from W3 Schools, website we highly recommend. So I will link this in the chat for you guys. And here is some documentation on the difference between block elements and inline elements. So let's first go to our platform. We noticed that when we're working with HTML, some of our elements allow other elements next to them, while others take up all the space next to them, regardless of how much content they have. The ones that take up all the space are called block, and the ones that share space are called inline. Okay, so let's see some demonstration of this. I want to, for example, show you guys that this p tag and this div tag are both block elements. So let's see what this looks like on our page. As you can see, when I write a p tag, it's going to take up, if I inspect the page here, it's going to take up the whole entire width of the page. And when I write a div tag, it's going to do the same thing. And every div and every p tag are going to do this same exact thing. No matter how many times you write it, if I copy and paste another p tag below, it's going to give it a whole new line. That's just the style that block is. Block is going to be a little bit greedy here. And as you can see here, a block element always starts on a new line. Okay, the browsers automatically add some space margin. That's what we were seeing here on this p tag, the margin above and below. Here are some other block level elements: address, article, fig caption, aside, footer, form. And you can have this page here as a reference, bookmark this page, so you know why certain things are behaving the way they do. Okay, there's also inline elements. These are not greedy, right? So as you can see here, I already have some inline elements. I have two span elements, and I've written span element on one and the other, and they don't go on to new lines. A tags, they don't go on to new lines, and so do images. The image should be here, but now you can see the alt, right? The image would be here, and so would the other image be right next to it. It's not going to go enter onto a new line. So knowing this, you're going to be better equipped to go ahead and style your page, okay? And I've gone and summed up the rest of the rules as well for you guys here. So let's just go over the difference between block and inline elements. Okay, a block level element always starts in a new line. The browsers automatically add some margin. We read that. And it's going to take the full width available. Okay, so nothing new. We've seen that here. An inline element does not start on a new line. It only takes as much width as necessary. And here's the takeaway: an inline element cannot contain a block level element. So never put a block element like a p tag or a div inside a span or inside a tag. Okay, that's just not going to work. You can put these inlines inside the block, but not the block inside the inline. Okay, so have that in your memory bank. And with that being said, now that we have this concept understood, and let me just make sure it is understood, could you guys give me a status check on the difference between block and inline elements? Thank you guys for participating. Makes this experience all the better for me. Great. Okay. We're going to learn about inline block. Okay. Inline block is going to be a tool that we're going to use to put block level elements next to each other. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this into practice. I'm going to grab my p tags and say display inline block. So let's see what happens now. Oh, actually, I have to get a little bit more specific here. I am going to grab these by their class. I'm going to say class equals first P and second P. Ooh. Okay. First. Really slow for some reason. Okay. Do I have more than one P tag here that I'm affecting? Hold on here. It's a little bit of an error. Display inline block. Do I have? Oh, what happened? Oh, I deleted the. Ah, I know what I did. And going up, I deleted the link to the CSS. Okay. Now you can see they're together. Ooh, that was stressing me out. Okay. Now the P tags are next to each other. And the same would happen if I apply that to the block here. So just to hammer this in, let's give this a class of first block. And now I'll give this a second. And now if I do this on the right side, and I do this again. Oh. Okay. And now they're all on the same line. They're all in line. So they're treated just the same way as a span would. Okay. So this is the usefulness of using inline block. When you want two P tags to be next to each other, you can use inline block to do that. So I want to actually create some spacing here. So I will use the break tag between this and this. So now there's a bit of space. Okay, so these P tags are going to be friends now. They're going to sit side by side next to each other. And so will these div blocks here. Okay, so do we understand how div display inline block works? Can we get some feedback on that, please? And if we have any questions, please interrupt. Cool. All right. So we're getting close to our time to get into groups. So let's go over just a few more concepts here before we split up. Here it is. Here's a concept we want to understand. Vertical align. Vertical align is a way to, as it says, vertically align inline blocks. Okay. They don't, if this here is our container div, like this white line and I were to create 3 p tags inside that have lorem ipsum, and I made them be inline block, and I gave them a certain width, this is what it would look like. But if I apply a vertical align top to, let's say, the one on the left and the one on the right, or all of them for that case, they would behave this way. They would jump to the very top of that container that they're allowed to live in. Okay, so it's a really helpful tool. One of your assignments, I'll give you a big hint here. The way to solve one of our assignments here is by applying this rule, vertical align top. It is super essential that we understand how this works with inline block. Okay. And if we add block to our styling here, as you can see, it will line up on top of each other. They'll stack, and inline, they'll they'll go next to each other. Block and inline block are basic ways that we can alter normal layout of HTML tags. Okay, so some elements are blocked by default, but when you add inline block, they'll line up side by side next to each other. So let's take a look at this assignment we have here. We are given this HTML code and this CSS code. So most of the work is done for us. As we can see, there's a big hint. I already gave it. Vertical align is going to be the key for completing this assignment. So make a note of this now. It's going to be, this lecture is recorded. So you can always go back and say, if you get to this assignment, what did Josh say to do to make that block go to the top here? It is vertical align top. Okay, cool. Okay, so how about we do a little bit of a quiz here now that we have a little bit of time left over. I want to ask you guys, what are, and you can post this in the chat, what are some types of tags that are not block element tags? Okay, we have span, we have a. Great. Those are all correct answers. And the rest of the list here are here. Span, image tags, strong tags, BR tags. These are the text area. We worked with this, remember, when we did the profile, not profile, what was it? The form page that we had a bunch of inputs. This is an inline element. And one more thing I want to go over here. We want to look into this here. I will go ahead and link this in the chat as well. Margin 0 auto. This is a really cool rule. I'll show how we can use this. I will create another div here. If my text editor will let me. Okay, I'm gonna demonstrate how this works. Div. There we go. And I'm gonna say class equals container. And then within this one, I'm going to say div. I'm going to call this one inner div again. Okay, now let's go ahead and affect these by using the class selector. And I'm going to say background color, light blue again. What about another type of blue? What about just blue? Okay, yeah, let's do that. And I'm going to say height. What did we say originally? 200 pixels? Yeah, that was a good height. Width. 200 pixels. And I also want to touch on the inner div. So what I'll do here is say height 50%. Width 50%. Background color red. Now let's take a look at what we've got. All right, we've got this here. And so if I want to center this red div inside the blue one of the ways we can do that is by using margin 0 auto. So we already discussed what margin means. Well, 0 is a measurement, but let's see how this affects it and explain what it does afterward. Okay, margin 0 auto. So when I apply this rule, now the red div is centered within the blue one. Okay, this is not text, right? So we can't do text align center. It's not so easy to center something that isn't text. This is just a div. But using margin 0 auto, we're able to put this right in the center. So let's go over what this means exactly. Okay. Okay. So in margin 0 auto, the top and bottom margin is 0, and the left right margin is auto, where auto means the left and right margin are automatically set by the browser based on the container to make the elements centered. Okay, the margin 0 auto equivalent to, it is equivalent to as if I applied this these 4 rules: margin top 0, margin bottom 0, margin left auto, and margin right auto. Okay. So auto again means they are automatically set by the browser based on the container to center. Okay, so that's how we were able to center this red div in the middle of this blue one. Now, if I wanted to make this completely centered, I can say, how can we do that? We can affect the margin top. I can determine it by pixels. Did I do that? Did I do that right?
But if you just the margin auto, what would happen?
Yeah, let's take a look at that while I figure out what's going on here.
Isn't that the margin above? Isn't that 0 referring to top?
Yeah, but because the second rule is coming afterward, it should still be affecting it. Yeah, I think something is happening. Well, margin auto, it pretty much is the same thing, but margin 0 auto is the common way that you'll see it referred to as a way to center the div. Okay, maybe it's because I need to affect the padding here. This will stretch out the div, but if I want to affect the margin here, Let's do it by percent.
Let's go.
It'll completely disappear. Ah, I see what's happening. It's pushing, this red block is pushing, as if we inspect it here, it's pushing the whole entire block above it. This inner div here is pushing upward, even though it's contained in the blue. So be aware that affecting the margin isn't always the right way. We need to affect the actual the height of it, I think. So let's affect this. Let's cancel this out. Close this. And now margin top isn't working. What is going on here? It's time for a rubber duck moment. I need to talk to myself here. A lot of the times when you're looking at a coding problem that you can't figure out, the best way is just to stop and look at it and try to explain to it to yourself as if you're going to explain to your superior why this doesn't work. And a lot of time it will be let's see here. The inner div is height 50%, but maybe it's the percentage here that's being affected. So I'm going to say this is going to be 50 pixels. And this is going to be 50 pixels. Margin top, we're going to say 50 pixels. Yeah. The reason is the margin is not going to affect the position within the div. It's just going to push it from where it actually is at the moment. So it's pushing the top down of the whole entire container. Okay. So there's a bit of a trick to this. And there is one rule that I am not remembering at the moment that will be a key rule to center this red div completely in the center of this blue div. So let's get back to that in just a moment. But before we do here, we're running out of time on this lecture. And we're going to do this project together where we are creating flags. So does anyone know the definition of the word vexillology? No, it is the study of flags. Okay, so knowing that, let's look into some different types of flags here that we can explore. We have the Japanese flag. It's a little slow here. I have so many tabs open on so many screens that I think my processor is just... We have this Japanese flag that is a rectangle with a circle in it. So this would be, imagine creating your whole CSS page, or at least a portion of your CSS page, to create this flag inside the page. So this would be a rectangle with a red circle in it. Okay. What about the French flag? Anyone know what that looks like?
Isn't it blue, white, and red?
Right? Yes, blue, white, and red. But there's 3 rectangles, right? So 3 rectangles side by side next to each other. So how would you do this using HTML and CSS? You don't have to say it out loud. Just, think to yourself, because we're going to split up into groups. But this would be pretty easy, right? Like you create 3 divs. Maybe you have a container div, maybe you don't, depending on how you choose to make this this flag. You can make it the width of the whole entire page that you're working on, or you can make a border div that would contain all 3 rectangles. And let's do one more flag. This is going to be like probably #1 challenge. I haven't seen a group do this successfully yet. So if you choose this one, make sure you're feeling pretty confident. American flag. This one has a lot going on.
Well,
This is going to be a rectangle, and it has its own blue div on the top left corner here. It's got stars here aligned. And you can imagine how these should be aligned. Should they be columns? Should they be rows? And then you have another portion here, maybe at the bottom. Let me go ahead and annotate this. Let's see here. You have this other portion here. Maybe you divide it up this way. You create one rectangle holding these red bar stripes, another one here to hold this section here, and then you have the blue section, and maybe have rows of stars going horizontal this way. Okay. So I haven't seen a group actually do this yet. So if you do this, you'll impress me for sure. Or you can do it another of other ways. Let's say this flag here, you can make a div that goes this way, a div that goes this way, and then there's that blue section at the very top. Okay, while you guys work on this, I will drop in your groups and I will check in on you. And for this div that I could not center in the blue section, I will go ahead and get the answer for that in a second. I'm not sure what was bugging out there, but thank you guys for being.
for that one, can you not use the relative positioning instead of absolute?
Well, position relative is an option, but it is discouraged because as soon as you use relative positioning, then everything else has to be relative to that relative position. So I haven't discussed relative positioning yet. So it's good that you asked. There is ways to use position relative, position absolute, but let's stay away from using those and try to build these flags using the rules that we've taught you so far, just using a block, an inline block, and using margin and padding. So, if you're feeling super desperate, your group can't do anything, maybe you can use position relative. I won't judge you too hard, but stay away from that. That's, it's a fair warning to say that is going to be trouble if you get used to using that. And if you use that for your assignments, you're also gonna, if we do a code review and we see that you use position relative or position absolute, again, we haven't taught that yet. It's going to be something that you'll be shunned for. So try not to use that, and we'll go later in other explanations, other lectures as to why it doesn't work properly. Okay, so I'll go ahead and split you guys up into groups, and then we'll go ahead and discuss further any positioning tactics and learn from each other on this project. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and stop this lecture. And let's see here. Okay, here we go. All right, so I've resumed the recording now. Now, I wanted to show you guys, it was a little frustrating during the lecture, and it was simpler than I thought it was. I had done this so many times before, but it just escaped me in the heat of the moment. So there's more than one way to center a block div that has no content, right? It has no words in there, so it's not going to be shaped by anything but the height and width. So this red div within the blue one, I added the display inline block property, and then I added margin 75 pixels. So this will add 75 pixels to the left, to the top, to the right, and to the bottom. Okay. And so because the height is 200 by 200 and the height of this red box is 50 pixels, you do the math, and if you add 75 to each end of a 50 by 50 pixel, it will look like this. So that's one way to control it. And if I comment this out here, and I go ahead and uncomment this here, it will do the same thing. You can affect it by the container div or by the inner div. So by the container, if you add padding on all size and you say box sizing border box, this is a rule that we haven't really introduced yet. It is on the platform, but we haven't talked about it. It is going to say that by the height and by the width, it's going to remain a border box container, and it will allow the center red div to be right there in the center. Okay, so this is on the recording of the lecture. So if you want to reference this, you can always go back to the recording. By the way, I go ahead and if you look at the YouTube videos, there's what is it called? Markers for each different topic that we address. So you can, skip ahead and know exactly where in the video we touch on each topic if you ever forget. Okay, now that being said, I'm excited to see your guys' flags. I don't think you guys know your own group names. So if anyone wants to just present first, go ahead. And then we'll just go based on, who's left. So would any volunteers like to begin?
I don't mind. Myself, Peter, and Riley.
Let's do that. Great.
All right. Let me share my screen here. Hopefully you guys can see that.
Yes. And which flag is this again?
So this flag here is the Romanian flag. We started off with something a little simple. The way we went about it is we have 3 divs kind of nested inside each other. This is the wrong code, actually. We did 2 flags.
Okay.
This is the code that we have 3 divs nested inside each other. This first red div is the largest div at 450 pixels by 300. And then we just did another div, which was yellow at 2/3 of that size. And then another div, which was blue at 1/3 of that size. And we ended up with this.
Nice. That's a different way than I've seen it conventionally done. So very well done. You guys have a nested divs. Each have different sizes there. And so do we have any questions for this group about how we did the Romanian flag?
Not a question, but just a comment. That was really good.
Thank you. We tried. We at first we had them just like in line, and they were all the same size. But we noticed there was a small border in between all of them. We didn't like the border, so we tried to figure out, and this is what we came up with.
Yeah, that spacing is actually the browser's default padding and margins, right? And that's why we normally have what's called a CSS reset. Right, we use that asterisk, that wildcard selector, which you might have seen in the advanced selectors, and we set the padding to 0 and the margin to 0, and that gets rid of all the browser default paddings and margins.
Yeah,
and so that's why you would see that.
We set the margin. We just set the margin to 0, not just the. We didn't realize the padding as well.
We forgot the padding.
Forgot the padding. Okay,
that'll do it.
But we did a second flag as well. We decided to give Japan a shot so we could try to center and see if we can get that figured out. We were in the progress, and then Christian showed up, and he helped us out a lot, and we actually went above and beyond, and he introduced us to variables.
Let's expand that so we can see the full.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe actually let's shorten the window on the right so we can see the HTML and CSS at the same time.
Okay.
So yeah, shrink the Romanian flag
or the Japanese flag. Yeah.
Or the Japanese flag. Yeah.
There we go. Oh, you don't want to see the Japanese flag at all?
No, we do. We just want it to be a little shorter in width so we can see the HTML and CSS at the same time.
I see.
There we go. Like that. Yeah.
That's the
incorrect one. Yep. Sorry, 1 second, guys. I'm messing everything up here.
Nice. Yeah.
And you can also either do Control B or click this file explorer. It'll also collapse this a little bit as well. Gives you a little bit more space.
What's really throwing me off is this zoom like top
You
bar.
can
that-
drag it wherever you
Oh,
want.
could you? Can I drag it to? Thank you. That made my life a million times easier.
Yeah.
Wrong one.
You need the other, that's the remaining, there you go.
So now can we put the CSS and HTML side by side?
Yeah, let me do my darndest here.
That's why I use that book.
You
button.
can drag it until you see the, yeah, there you go.
And then drag the
Yep.
CSS to the right. Oh, or that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Hold on, guys. I'm getting there.
Okay.
You're
Don't
good.
worry.
You're doing fine.
Don't worry.
And
Alrighty.
you can close up the
How's that?
Explorer right now so that it's easier to see. So click on this guy on the left hand side. Yep.
Yeah, you could also do Control B
Oh,
Yep. There you go.
like that.
perfect. Okay.
Nice.
How's that?
That's good.
Okay. So with the Japanese flag here, with the help of Christian, we were able to get it so a variable is what controlled the center circle here. So essentially now our variable or our circle can be adjusted with size, however we like. So if I wanted to make the circle slightly smaller, instead of 150 pixels, we can make it 125. And I can save that and it'll adjust there. And if I want to go even smaller, let's just do 25. It'll get even smaller. We were able to do that by essentially creating a couple variables and then doing some math. We took the size of the window minus the size of the height and the width of our circle, and then divided that by 2. And by doing that, it'll place it in the center of the screen. We do that for both height and width.
That's really cool. And so why also do we have inline block on line 18?
I forgot. I think it was because the inline block, if you don't have an inline block, it won't let you use or adjust the margins, and we'll run into that same issue you ran into.
Right.
So it
Okay.
needs to be an inline block.
Right. Okay. Pretty cool. So we have a red div inside of a white div, and they're able to do some fancy math on the margin, and able to calculate the size and divide it by 2, and that's how we have that. So well
Essentially,
done.
this the exact same math that you did for yours. It's just this way it'll automatically do the math, so you don't have to manually calculate it out by hand. You just put in the formula and then it'll, do the work. It's not necessary to make this dynamic like this. You won't need to do this for any assignments or the exam or anything like this. But it's just, for those who are curious on how you could do this sort of centering that relies on math in a dynamic way where you don't have to do the math every time, that's how you could do it.
Okay. Thank you, Christian. Appreciate you helping them out there.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool stuff. I'm learning from this actually. So let's go on to the second group. Who would like to volunteer next?
I think my team can. That would be myself,
Sure.
Nicholas,
Okay.
Victoria, and Taylor.
Do you want me to show mine, or Victoria, do you want to show yours?
If you guys both have different flags, let's see as many flags as we can. We're going a little overtime here, but if you guys don't mind sticking around, let's take a look at all the flags.
Nicholas, you can start.
All right, cool. So what we did was we tried to make several different flags. Let me get everything set up. Let's see. Okay. Hey, bear with me.
I think it's loading. Here we go.
Yep.
Okay. So we see a CSS.
Sorry for the delay, everybody.
And for the rest of the groups, let's get who's ever presenting, get their pages ready to present there, so we can save time on this.
Okay, so can y'all see everything now?
Yep. Well, we need to, can we see the CSS and HTML side by side?
All right. Yeah, I think it's still catching up with me. I've got them next to each other. Everything should be good to go.
Okay. Nice. We see the French flag, but can we see the CSS next to the HTML? There we go. Here we go.
Should be.
Nice. Oh, it was
I
just-
have.
Okay. Go ahead, sorry.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's a big delay on my side. I'll try to fix that over the days here. Sorry about that. So on this one, the first try that we did, we put it in 3 divs, and we just tried to make the 3 divs. And then Christian came in and he challenged us to use different methods. So the first one, we just kind of used 3 by next one. We did it this way. And let's see. And this way we did one div. But we used linear gradient. And Victoria found a nice website that had a good example. So you can see we just basically put the gradient here. And then from the right, we did 33% blue. And we realized that the middle color has to have a left and a right so it knows where the boundaries are. And then you're basically creating the gradient that way. And so that was our second flag using a gradient. The first time we used 3 divs. Victoria, do you want to show yours now?
Oh, and I saw on the first one there, you used flex. If anyone caught that, we'll be going over flex tomorrow.
And that's all that I had. Victoria, did you want to show yours? Oh, there they are. Cool.
Fantastic. Okay. So let's see the flag. All right. So French flag again. Uh-oh.
Oh, I was muted. Sorry. I was just saying that we did the French flag in 3 different ways, and mine was with the 3 different divs, but with the inline block instead of the flex.
Okay. That was pretty brief. Yeah, we only saw it for a second there, but we saw it. So we have a couple more, I think, a couple more groups to cycle through. So let's do that while we have some remaining time.
We could show ours. It was me, Joseph, David, and Zach.
Yes.
And we did, here, I can share my screen. Oh, we tried to do the Iceland flag. And here is the example.
Okay.
And what we came up with. So what we did was we did 3 boxes, like 1, 2, and 3. Did a middle kind of div for the center one, red. And then we just flipped these other 3 boxes.
Okay.
And we're close. A little bit, a couple more minutes, we would have had it. But and we just messed with just tinkered with it left and right, did a little bit of border padding and stuff, and we're getting there.
All right. This is pretty close. I think you guys did a really great job. So just the only thing that would make it perfect is just making the center of the cross, the red cross there, to make those little white sections make it completely red, right? So there's a bit of a trick to that. There's multiple ways to tackle that, but we won't get into that now. I would let you tinker on this on your own time, and if you figure it out, you can get back to us and show us how you did it. Thank you guys, really great job. Any other flags for this group, or was that it?
I think we're up next, Tosh.
Okay. All right.
So I had Hector, Brenda, and Brandon. If I'm not mistaken. Okay, so awesome. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So we did the Francis flag as well. We didn't use the flex, so which made us we had to play around with how we can make it all because we put a border and the border wasn't really aligning with the flag. So we just kept playing with the height and with the width of the parent div, which is France, till we got it very, very close. But what we were also working on is we're working on another flag, which is Chile. But for the longest time, we couldn't get. 1 second. We just couldn't get them close to each other. So one method that we found was that if we put, and it shocked us, if we close the div on the next line,
yeah,
it will do it. But we just couldn't see how the gap closed between blue and green, but we couldn't figure out how we can close the gap between red and blue and green. And I think with Flex, we can do it. We just ran out of time.
Yes. So take note of this, class, because you see how you have to connect the divs. You can't enter it on a new line. And Flex is really helpful for getting around this. So this is why we're going to, after today, tomorrow, we're going to discourage using inline block, and we're going to encourage using Flex from now on, because inline block has some weaknesses to it that, as you can see there, unless it is connected on the next line, the closing caret of the previous closing div is connected to the opening div, line 24 to 25, there's going to be some errors there that are going to be there. And in addition to that, we're going to show how to use the wildcard selector to take out the margin and padding for everything. So I haven't gone over that yet specifically, just touched on it a little bit. But as you can see here, there's a little bit of a problem here with inline block. So Flex is going to be an answer to that. Inline block and Flex don't work really well together. So that's probably why this is not going to work if you uncomment Flex. But tomorrow we're going to clarify all of that. So thank you guys for even working on this Chile flag. What does the Chile flag look like, by the way? Because I'm not even sure what that's supposed to look like.
So yeah, it's this is what it looks like. But we obviously well, we had to make the white green so we can see it.
Okay.
So yeah, and we're working on closing all the gaps before we can work on the star, which would be another challenge.
Okay.
Well, we'll definitely work on it on our own time.
Okay, fantastic. Great job, guys.
I think one way that you could have gotten rid of those gaps without having those brackets on the next lines is actually by setting your font size to 0.
We tried, but on all of them?
On the in your CSS reset, like for everything, if you set it your CSS reset, that's one way that should do it, in addition to having your margin and zeros, your margin and padding at 0. So font size at 0 and the margin and padding at 0 should get rid of that. Again, in a CSS reset. So rather than in each of your individual classes, like using that wildcard selector, the asterisk, the star
up here
for the top before everything else. Yeah.
Zero. Margin 0. Padding 0. Right. Oh wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Hi,
cool.
Ines.
I had a question.
That's a lot easier.
Can I ask a question kind of on this topic?
Yes.
So can one of you, Joshua, Christian, can y'all speak to kind of, because I know that this topic that we're on is really important when it comes to like the way that the page displays. And then how does that connect with, like when someone opens and closes their browser to different sizes, so they're expanding it, they're closing it, like is the flex a way to make it so like anytime they open it to any size, it kind of fits, versus inline and things like that, you could have problems down the road? Is that
So
along the same lines?
Christian, did you want to say something first?
I was going to say Flex, that's a big part of why Flex is really useful, is it does handle a lot of that stuff for you. It doesn't do everything for you. You still have to set it up to be, properly responsive. It's not going to automatically be perfectly responsive, but it does do a lot of the hard work for you, a lot of those calculations to make things fit nicely and get rid of the empty spaces and all that kind of stuff. It does a lot of that stuff for you. It kind of just bundles it all together and does a lot of that hard stuff. So that's one of the big benefits of Flex, but it's not the end all be all for responsiveness. There's still more work that you have to do as a developer to make things perfectly responsive. It's just, it reduces that work by a lot.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. And then will we go over some of those other tricks along the way during this program?
Yep.
All right.
Definitely. It used to be, we'll definitely go over that. So I won't say any more on that until we do go over it. Very, very good job, guys. And you closed the gaps at the very end. So would the last group like to present, please?
Yeah, sure. So it was myself, Brandon and Briggs, and we decided to do the Irish flag. Sharing my screen now. Okay, so this is the Irish flag. This is the flag that we did. And this is how it originally looks. And here's our code for it. It's much similar to this group on their first flag. We just set up 3 separate divs, each named each respective color of the flag, and we just separated it into thirds and made the background color the correct color with a solid border of black.
Well done. Nice and simple. Great job, guys. Okay,
Thanks.
so that ends today's activities and lectures. Let's go ahead and close out the day. I will go ahead and share my screen for a second here. And let's look at the calendar. Okay. So tomorrow we're going to go over Flex. We already touched a little bit, some groups who are using Flex. So we're going to actually define what this is. We're going to do morning algorithms before we do that. And then we're going to do some demonstrations on how to use Flex in our second lecture. Then we're going to have time for code and lab reviews. We're going to go over your assignments in a group. Okay, so remember, we have now opened this up. So if you want to go to this code review tab, I see some names in there already. Everyone should be filling out their names in here with their assignment as soon as possible, so we can nicely organize. So we're not doing this all last minute on Monday and Tuesday. So this is open now. Take advantage and go ahead. Oh, some of the numbers here are a little mixed up. I'll go ahead and fix that now. Be careful with this because now everyone can add and edit this. So make sure that you're not touching anybody else's time slot there. Okay, so be careful please fill this out so we can do code reviews and have this organized as soon as possible. So with that being said, let's go ahead and close out the day. We went ahead and learned a lot about inline block. You guys are good enough to make flags on a page now. Do we have any questions for the day remaining that we want to discuss? Anything that we'd like to any comments that we'd like to talk about? How do you guys feel?
Feel good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And we're now over 20 minutes over the time. So we'll go ahead and close this out. I'll have these videos on YouTube within the hour, and go ahead and share the lecture code as well on GitHub. So take advantage of all those tools so that you can get your assignments done as soon as possible.
Okay. Thanks, Josh.
Have a nice day, y'all.
All right.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.